So recently, I've been thinking about the creative process, making stuff, whether that's through writing or drawing or singing or whatever it is. Um, and often I find it helps to talk out loud about whatever I'm thinking of. So I thought I might just sit down and talk, and hopefully it provides some insight to someone out there, anyone. And hopefully it also grants me some clarity about the very vague and fuzzy thoughts in my head. Um, but yeah, I've just been thinking about the process of making things and how often it is quite dichotomous, I guess. Because on the one hand, it's like my favorite thing to do in the whole world, to just be creative and to just make something. And on the other hand, it's also the most daunting and scary and terrifying and nerve-wracking experience of my whole life. Every new task feels like Mount Everest, and just looking at that blank screen or the empty page is enough to inspire intense agony and anxiety within me. So yeah, it's just kind of funny. It's interesting how those two things can exist in the same space. But yeah, I mean, sometimes when I get too busy, that tired saying, when life gets in the way and I don't dedicate, I guess, enough of my time to being creative, I kind of forget how much joy and pleasure and satisfaction it brings me. And then when I finally get around to it, either by circumstance or by purposefully sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to do something today, I'm going to make something, all of a sudden I remember, oh my God, this is why I do this so often. This is why I come back to it so often, because it's so enjoyable and so much fun. And why don't I do this all the time? I should be doing this all the time. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, sometimes it can be just I don't know, that fear that whatever you make is going to be just terrible and that no one will like it and it will be totally embarrassing and you'll be exposed for being a total failure at whatever it is you're meant to be doing. For instance, I've recently gotten back into drawing. I used to do it kind of just for fun years ago, and now I'm just trying to do it, daily, getting in some practice and learning proportions and everything like that. And as much as I enjoy it and as much, calmness and peace it brings me, there is still that kind of slight frustration in not being able to realize the ideas or the images that are in your head. It's tough because as I'm sitting there drawing and I'm like, okay, I know how I want this to look like. Why isn't it coming out like that? It's just I'm just a beginner, I guess, and it's painfully obvious. But I think that is, again, part of the process. It has to be kind of painful for a little while until it starts becoming easier and easier, or, a certain thing starts becoming easier and then you start to move on until it's painful again, progressive overload, if we want to talk in gym terms, I guess, because I've been going to the gym as well, where I've been, doing gym stuff at home with weights and my trusty yoga mat, which is actually just there, but you can't see it. Yeah, it's as soon as you get comfortable with a certain thing or a certain technique, you have to move up. You go up a level, and it's hard all over again. And that's just part of the process, right? And so I think maybe to an outsider who isn't involved in whatever you're involved in, they might be like, why do you put yourself through this? If it's so agonizing and so intensely, I guess, consuming, just why? Do something else, do something easier. But yeah, it really is this love, hate, pleasure, pain relationship. yeah, I've just been thinking about that recently. And I guess more specifically, I've been thinking about that fear that I was talking about earlier of making something and having it not be good or good by some arbitrary standard. Because, yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, if you're sharing your work, maybe that maybe it changes it. Like, if you're posting online or you're showing it to your friends or family, it can kind of up the ante a little bit. But yeah, I think that same rule still applies, that if it brings you joy and it kind of gives you a sense of, I don't know, calmness, like I was talking about, happiness, then it doesn't really matter if it's good or not. And I've really just been trying to understand what it means to have something be good, you know? Because, like, I don't know, I really like to think about art in terms of art existing for art's sake, you know? It exists because it does, and it feels good while making it, and it feels good while enjoying it, and I think that's pretty much the point of it. It doesn't have to be masterful. It doesn't have to be some deep exploration of like all the world's issues, you know. Sometimes it's just a thing, and it can be a thing without being anything more than that, you know. I just wouldn't want anyone to be hindered from their creative process because they're scared of it not being, you know, good enough. Like, to me, that is just like the worst thing ever. Honestly, I think most people in the world are creative, or they have the capacity to be. And for some reason or another, they just don't have the time or the effort or the skills or the resources to realize that, you know. But I do think most people have something worth making inside them, if that makes sense. It's hard to talk about worth. I kind of use that word cautiously because it's quite loaded, isn't it? What does it mean to be worth something in that same way, like that a piece of art is good or not? Like, these terms, they're value judgments. And it's like, I don't know. I think the point is just to do the thing anyway, even if it's not worth anything, even if it's not good, even if it's horrible. I think part of the joy is kind of experiencing the highs and the lows and being able to point to a thing and be like, yeah, I made that. It came from me and I'm sharing it with you because I want to. And sharing and receiving, all of those things are equally as pleasurable. And I honestly do think it makes the world a better place. I don't know if that's kind of too sappy, but yeah, it grants us a sense of like understanding ourselves and each other. And it's really just nice in general. It makes me feel like all warm and fuzzy. I just wish more people were free to create stuff, you know. It's hard now, especially now, because I guess in the kind of climate that we're in, economically, socially, there is this real temptation, I think, and I've experienced this too. You know, I'm not excluding myself from the conversation. There is this real temptation to take the thing that brings you joy, any leisurely or kind of casual activity that you do because it's fun, to take that and kind of commercialize it, to make it into something profitable, something that you can market or sell. You know, it's just, to use another tired phrase, a sign of the times. With so much kind of income insecurity and these uncertain times, which I'm sure everyone just still loves hearing that phrase, right? Yeah, I think it's never really done maliciously. If we're talking about individual people like you or I, it's mostly done out of necessity and just wanting a more secure kind of future for yourself and for your loved ones. And still, I think that is so, or it has the potential at least to be so damaging. I don't like the fact that we've had to take the things that bring us pleasure and joy and turn them into something that is like the hinge for our kind of security in life, you know? It's, yeah. I don't know. I like it when people are making things and sharing those things. And if they turn out to be profitable or marketable, that's good. You know, it's a good thing usually. But if that's the main purpose, or if that kind of overrides the original pleasure in the first place, and it becomes too stressful or overwhelming or overbearing, then I don't know, like, if that's really the point, you know. Sometimes when I look back on my past work, you know, even stuff that's on my channel, my YouTube channel, and stuff that maybe you guys haven't seen, that's just on my computer, not being shared with anyone. Sometimes it makes me cringe, a lot of the times. Sometimes it makes me laugh, sometimes it makes me remember how I felt at that time when I was making it. But there's never been a time where I've thought, oh wow, I shouldn't have made that, or I shouldn't have dedicated my time to making that. It's never been a waste, you know. Even when it's like a 5-second snippet of a song that is listened to once and then never again, or it's this silly little poem or chapter of a story, those things have, I don't know, they have a special place in my heart because it's kind of magical, you know. It's this transmutation of electrical impulses, if we want to get technical, to actual things that are able to be consumed by other people. And that's just so crazy to me. Yeah, like sitting down and writing a story or creating a song, it's like, what the hell? You've just made something out of nothing. That's almost impossible. And that process is really quite magical, you know. And I have just a limitless amount of respect for people that do this and like put themselves out there and make themselves vulnerable. And yeah, I don't know. I guess this is more like a note to self. It's a reminder to the future me who may be neglecting my creative needs, you know, that desire for a creative outlet. This is a reminder to that future me to actually take it seriously and give it some value and be like, this isn't just a silly little hobby that's a waste of time. And yeah, just to remember that it feels good and you should do it. You should do it. And yeah, I don't know. That you shouldn't feel guilty for not being productive. Like I hate that feeling that you should always be making something to be palatable. But yeah, this is just a reminder to my future self to go into the process and enjoy it at the time, and don't be looking so far ahead into having already made it, and not think about if it's going to be good or bad or somewhere in between, you know, because the point is being in that present moment. You know, it's almost meditative, like sitting there and being like, oh my God, this thing that I'm thinking about is now on a page. It's now a song. Like, how is that even possible? And I just hope, like, anyone out there who might be listening, I just want you to find the time, if it's possible, to try and do something creative, whatever that word means to you. You know, I guess I've been talking a lot about the stuff that I'm interested in, but if you have some very particular thing that you like to do, but you feel like it's not productive or that it's a waste of time, like, I'm telling you, no way. That it is no way a waste of time. And, you know, if it's something that brings you joy and pleasure and satisfaction, those are the things that I think we need to be looking at and moving towards, you know. Yeah, I mean, I just want to remember that feeling. So I'm never going weeks without making something and being like, ah, yeah, I'll get around to it. Because I feel like I'm always at my happiest when, you know, something is happening, some kind of magic is being created, and it kind of fills me with this like intangible but still very present electricity, and it's buzzing through me, and I'm walking down the street and I can feel it, and it's just like it carries me along in my day. And I want other people to feel like that all the time, you know. So yeah, maybe we can make some kind of pact. I want you to take seriously and to respect your creative processes, whatever they are, and I will try to do the same. I know it's hard, it can be really hard sometimes. But once you're in that moment, you're in the zone, I think it all becomes very, very clear why it's so important and so lovely and enjoyable. And really, like, following loveliness is what I want to dedicate my life to, you know, following goodness and pleasure. And yeah, I hope you do too. That would be nice. That would bring me joy and pleasure again. It's just a cycle and it keeps on going.